All right, Kevin, back with you for another episode of the Million Dollar Relationships Podcast. And today I'm here with Dr. Laura. Dr. Laura, I didn't even ask you, how do you pronounce your last name? I want to make sure I get it right and don't butcher it.
No problem. Thank you for asking. It is Sicola, like Pepsi Cola without the pep. I'm the pep.
I love that. I love that. And you know, now I feel good because that's exactly what I thought it was. So, you know, and I want to give a quick shout out to Andrew Ailman and the team over there at Podcast Guest. That's how you and I got connected. And I have actually, over the last couple of years, I have found a number of amazing podcast guests through that platform. So I just want to give those guys a shout out because, man, what a testament again to the power of relationships. And so what I'd like to do, Dr. Laura, is I want to start by setting a little bit of context and letting our listeners know, you know, who you are, what you're all about, what inspires you. So if you could share a little bit, you know, about the work that you do, who you serve, what does inspire you most about the work you do and the impact you're making in this world. And we'll start there.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And thank you again, Kevin, for inviting me to be on the show. I love what you're trying to do and help people realize the power of relationships and how to strengthen them, because it's great to know that something is good, but if you don't know how to do it, well, that's lovely passive knowledge, but we need to turn it into active skill and really results, right?
That's right. That's right.
So, you know, for me, my world is in leadership, communication, and influence.
Okay.
So under that umbrella of executive coaching, as many people are maybe familiar with, I will distinguish myself in letting you know that I'm not, when I'm working with an executive, when I'm working with a business leader, I'm not going to help them make one blessed business decision. But when they've made that decision, I help you get the buy-in you need to get the results that you want. And that really does all come back to relationships, because it's how do you connect with those people, whoever they may be, whether they're clients or their coworkers or their partners or their your bosses or your direct reports or anybody else. You have to have the ability to establish a mutual understanding. It's, you understand me, I understand you, we respect and appreciate each other's needs. Let's figure out how to get to a yes that mutually serves us both. And being able to articulate those ideas and to articulate your own thoughts and the acknowledgement that you understand somebody else's, that's where all relationships start on the strongest foundation.
Yeah. Wow. And you know, that is huge, because you're right. You know, I've been to a lot of entrepreneurial events over my 27 years as an entrepreneur. And I know a lot of other entrepreneurs. You know, I mean, I won't get too technical. We've all been in a networking situation that totally sucks. That's a technical term. You know?
That is a technical term. Yes, I fully agree.
And
it was on the SAT, I think, back before college. So yes.
There you go. There you go. And, you know, so many of networking events have, people are like, they're wanting to, like, you know, make hay while the sun shines, connect with as many people as possible. And they're talking about what they do and all that. And like, and ultimately nobody really connects with anybody in that kind of an environment.
Yes.
And you know, to really connect with somebody, it's really not so much about talking at all. It's more about asking questions and then genuinely listening, because we want to know the answers and stuff.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm sure that's just a huge part of the work that you do as well and stuff. And so
it is. And it's fun because one of the areas that I work with clients on is often in the interviewing and or networking space. It's people can get all the way up to chief executive officer, chief financial officer, SVP of XYZ, and all the fancy schmancy power titles that exist out there. And the one question that most people absolutely still trip over themselves when they have to answer is when someone asks, so what do you do?
Yeah.
It's amazing. You know all this 20, 30, 40 years of experience in your industry, in your company, in your role, and you still open your mouth and go, bleh, bleh, bleh. And no, at the end of whatever you said, people are less clear about what it is that you do than they were before you started talking. So it's partially nerves, it's partially forgetting what the lenses of the other person and how to translate your expertise in a way that they will know and understand and appreciate, but really helping people get the clarity and just being able to say, here's the value that I want to offer to anybody who needs this particular value. And here's why I love doing it. And here's what I'd love to learn about you tell me more about you now. And
Yes.
we can keep it so simple, but we really it's the smallest details that can make the biggest difference and the biggest pitfalls that we can manage to trip over and fall into in the process. So that
Totally.
networking piece, whether it's a small group or a huge event, is so important to find the right person and just be able to initiate the right conversation to take off as a launch point for that relationship.
Yeah, yeah. And you're right. Entrepreneurs do that question, what do you do? And so many entrepreneurs don't have a great answer for that question and stuff.
Most have a terrible answer and it's way too long. Can I give one key tip for
Sure.
everybody on that one?
Yeah.
So actually, I'm going to give two if I can squeeze like a 1B in there. One,
Okay.
we tend to try to sound smart to impress the other person. And that's our own little imposter syndrome and insecurity kind of seeping through in a self-sabotaging way. The best way to make people think you're smart is to make them feel smart by making what you say so clear and simple and obvious that they go, oh, yeah, totally get that. Let's talk. So take away the jargon, don't snow them with all that kind of stuff. And remember that the first 30 seconds or so, if you want to call it your elevator pitch or whatever else, it's not how do I take everything that I do and smash it into 30 seconds. It's just enough of an introduction that it's kind of like bait. And I use that not in the smarmy sense, but just you want to catch one response. And that simple response is, that's interesting. Tell me more about whatever they choose. That's it. Just open the door. That's all you have to do. Don't plan the rest of it. Open the door.
Yeah. Yeah. When somebody responds like, oh, interesting. How do you do that? Or whatever, that it's just, you've got their attention and they want to know more.
Yes.
And so, yeah, very cool. Very cool. Yeah. That is incredibly valuable advice. And I'm guessing now, Laura, that anybody listening to this is probably thinking like, man, I need to talk to her some more. I need to find out more from her. So we'll give an opportunity for that later.
Of course.
I'll just plant a seed there.
Yes, that would be wonderful.
Okay, so now that we've got a little bit of context set and people have a little bit of an idea of what your unique abilities and gifts are, let's shift gears. And I want to like focus into this relationship piece because I love doing this. So I'm going to reiterate the question for the benefit of the listeners, and then this will shift our conversation a little bit. So, Dr. Laura, have you ever been introduced to a person or persons that completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person or persons? And I'm really excited to dig into this topic of relationships and hear your unique story and experience around this.
Yes, there's a number of people who have been instrumental in helping me make decisions in life or just planting seeds with ideas, concepts I'd never thought about before. And I love those moments of inspiration. But I think professionally, the one that was the biggest shift was when in 2008, I was finishing my PhD. I had just published and defended my research, my dissertation, and I was looking for the full-time tenure track professorship. That was the direction that I thought my career was going to go. And I was at my cousin's wedding, and at the reception, I'm sitting there at the table having a conversation with the guy who's sitting next to me, who I didn't really know anything about. And he asks me about my research because somebody had just congratulated me on completing and graduation. And he said, oh, well, tell me about what you do. And I gave him the background to what I was researching. And he said, I've always had an interest and an instinct about that, but I never had the data to back it up. You have the data. And I think it's really relevant and it would be useful for my people to learn more about this. Would you want to come and do a training for my team? And what I then found out was that he was the vice president of government programs at IBM.
Okay.
And lo and behold, I suddenly, there were a couple of follow-up conversations after that, but whereas I was only focused initially on teaching and being a professor and doing that kind of work. And suddenly I had a consulting contract with a Fortune 50 company. Like, who would have guessed? Yeah. And that was the beginning. And actually something else happened about 2 months later where somebody got rerouted to the wrong extension at the university where I was teaching, ended up on my phone line. And when I understood what they were doing, that also led to a side contract with a
Ah,
bank that I didn't expect. So between those two, it was like, maybe this independent entrepreneurship contract kind of work is where I belong, because it was fun. It was autonomous. It was challenging. It was interesting. It was lucrative, which is always a nice thing. And one thing led to another, and I got the bug. And that was that. I stayed teaching at the university part-time for about 5 more years as I was trying to figure out this whole entrepreneurship thing, because that was never on my radar. I didn't have a business background. I'd never taken business development seminars or anything. So I had to learn the ropes. So at least teaching kept the lights on for a couple more years.
uh-huh.
But that was the beginning that made me realize I think I want to hang out a shingle and do something for
Wow.
myself instead. So
Wow.
massive career shift. I think most people thought I was crazy at the time, but
Did
and
they? Uh-huh.
many may have. That was certainly not where I was supposed to be going with this whole, PhD education thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I can't imagine having gone any other direction.
Well, and so that was 2008, you
Yep,
said?
that was 15 years ago. Yep.
So wow, wow. Um, so if you look back at this one relationship with
Mhm.
this one person that you met and what has unfolded since then. So, and I'm sure you could come up with a lot of examples to this, but what is an instance that has happened because of this, that where you have been able to make a really huge impact, and hands down, that would have never happened if not for your relationship with that person that you met at the wedding and stuff.
I mean, the beauty is we've maintained that relationship and we've done so many different projects together over the years. He's become a mentor of mine in many
Okay.
ways in that time, but we've also gone to Egypt together several times to do some programs in Cairo. We have done programs in the US. We've done virtual programs for women's business and entrepreneurship initiatives in Africa
Wow.
for autonomy and development there. And there's so many groups where I've been able to take my gifts and not just help American business owners, but really inspire others where I never would have had the opportunity to work with people in this country or that country, or maybe I would have, but not that opportunity then. And I know that those people that I've been able to change their trajectories in life by helping them take the genius in their minds and the passion in their hearts and be able to articulate it in a way that landed as they wanted it to land so that they could hear more yes and be more successful. So I'm very grateful for those opportunities as well.
Yeah, yeah. So that's really fascinating. So you have spoken all around the world. I mean, you mentioned Cairo, you mentioned all these different places, and all from this one. All of this is stemmed from this one relationship,
Yep.
and it's very interesting when we really start looking at this, because you know I don't know the number of people that were in attendance at, because you've mentioned a number of events. So there's been quite a few of them over the
Oh,
years,
sure.
because, that's been, wow, 15 years now, And so, and because of who those people were, not only did you impact those frontline people that had the opportunity to interact with you, but their spouses, their team members in their companies, the clients that they serve. I mean, and you really start to look at this and the ripple effect of the work that we do. We will never truly know the impact we make, but yet you start looking at it this way, and it's really huge. It's really huge, and all stemming. I mean, and we're just focused on one relationship right now.
Yes.
You
Yep.
you have more relationships in your life that has stemmed a whole lot more things too.
Yes.
And so if you so over the last 15 years, and I think that's awesome what are you okay sharing the first name of this individual?
Sure. I know his name is Chris Kane. He's no
Chris
longer
King.
with IBM. He also launched, after he retired from there, he decided to launch his own consulting company, a global business consulting firm, which is Mercator 21, which is still out there. And since then, he has also launched a huge, wonderful global nonprofit. And so, which is the Center for Global Enterprise,
Okay.
and amazing business support for people in so many different spaces, and with other leaders from IBM and other huge companies like that. But it's been nice to be able to be affiliated with him as a trusted partner, as a resource. And whenever he's any of his programs are looking for speakers to come in and do keynotes or to do trainings and workshops on helping people find their leadership voice, get to yes, find their confidence, their authority, and lead through being a compelling, inspiring, clear, and effective communicator, then they get to call me. And I always love being able to serve because every project that they do is amazing.
Yeah. Wow. So what are you working on right now that has you most excited?
My business is in the process of expanding. We are also rebranding. So in another few months, it may not be Vocal Impact Productions anymore, but you can still go to the website and I'm sure it'll redirect, or you find me on LinkedIn and other places. But so the rebrand is a big deal. It's been I launched 15 years ago. I had rebranded after 5 years and got a little clear. As an entrepreneur, you start with one place and then you sort of figure out,
Oh yeah.
right, who is your audience, what is your real purpose, who do you connect with, what do you want to deliver as your big value to the world. And so since I was an accidental entrepreneur, as it was, took a little while for me to find that groove. Rebranded as Vocal Impact Productions 10 years ago, and now that it's been 10 years, it's a chance to reassess and say, where did I start, where am I now, and where am I going, and what will be in the greatest service of my listeners, of my clients, of any prospects. And so we're doing a little bit of a pivot on that one too. The services are the same. That's not going to change, but just the framing. So that's a big one. And I'm also growing in that we're at the precipice of launching, and we can talk more about this later. I'm happy to extend an invitation to the listeners, but some group coaching programs and some subscription programs where people have free access to self-pace their way through it and have access to all of my best material without having to pay the one-on-one price tag and without having to structure a schedule. It's your pace, your direction. You pick what you want to focus on to get the results that you're looking for. So to be able to do those more scaled one-to-many systems, and as business leaders, especially if many of your listeners, Kevin, are service leaders,
Yep.
they know if you're typically doing a one-to-one, you're a coach, you're a trainer, you're an instructor of whatever sort, there's only so many hours in the day that you can do a one-to-one. So if you want to really expand your reach and the number of people that you can have a relationship with and impact, we need to find a better structure. And so that's the big leap that we're on the process of making right now.
Very cool. Very cool. So for anybody listening to this, Laura, going, man, Kevin, I really like Laura. I appreciate what she shared. I like the way that she shows up. How can they find out more about you and the work you guys are doing?
There are a couple of real easy links to go to. Number one, you can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And it's just type in my name. I think I'm actually the only Laura Sicola out there, which is amazing. So I feel like everybody else, you look up a name and 12 different people pop up with the same name around the country.
With my name. You find all kinds of them.
I would imagine. Yeah. But I'm Laura Sicola. It's easy to find, and it's technically at Dr. Laura Sicola for LinkedIn, but that's one place. Connect with me there. Please let me know that you heard our conversation on this amazing show so I can give Kevin credit for that introduction and setting our relationship. And you can also go to my website, which is vocalimpactproductions.com. Go to the contact page and just click it there if you want to have a conversation, if you're looking for more information about something. There's lots of resources. And of course, I do have my own podcast as well, which I warmly welcome everyone and invite them to listen to, which is called Speaking to Influence. And that is where each week I have a conversation with another business leader, for-profit and nonprofit, exclusively around the role of communication as an essential leadership skill. So we talk to everybody about that. And it's amazing conversations and insights that get shared every week. So please feel free to come and join.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Laura, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today. I really appreciate hosting this podcast has been one of the most rewarding things I've done in my 27 years as an entrepreneur. And the goal has always been real simple, is I want to inspire other entrepreneurs, other founders, other CEOs to place an intentional focus on creating more real, meaningful, rewarding, and profitable relationships in their own life. And with your help today, we have definitely succeeded on delivering in that. So thank you for that. Any last thing that you feel led to share before we call it a wrap?
I just think it's wonderful what you're doing, and see the opportunity for people to maybe get out of their comfort zone a little bit and stop having limiting beliefs around the kinds of relationships that you could develop
Yeah,
and what they might lead to. I think there are many people who hold back and are afraid of the rejection. I think there are two great fears that drive all self-sabotaging behavior. And it's the fear of rejection and failure, and the
yeah,
fear of not being enough, of not being worthy,
yeah,
worthy of love, worthy of anything else. And when we realize where those, well, I don't want them to say no. What if I reach out to have a relationship and they shoot me down? They say no. Well, if you don't ask, then you're shooting yourself down for them. So at least make them do the work.
yeah, yeah.
Ask. They can't say no. They can't say yes if you don't give them the chance.
That's
So
right. That's
don't
right.
reject yourself for them.
You know, in a previous life, you were talking directly to me right there.
Yes. How so?
Well, I will tell you, in doing the work that I do, the seed was first planted for me 12 years ago.
Mm,
Made an introduction for these two gentlemen. They were both friends of mine. And the one was able to help the other's company with the problem they were having at the time. But beyond that, they went on to do all these amazing things together. And it got me thinking, wouldn't it be cool if I had a business where I got to do that all the time?
yep.
And but I used to put so many of these entrepreneurs on this pedestal because I would look at them and be like, oh, well, they're so successful, they've accomplished so many things, and I haven't done anything at the level that they have. And so
Yep.
I'd put them on this pedestal and then be telling myself, well, who do you think you are trying to help them out? You're not on the same level as them or all that. And it took me a while to figure it out. But now I don't care if I'm talking with the president of a country or a nation. I know that no matter who somebody is, no matter how great things look from the outside looking in, no matter how successful they appear, we're all just doing the best we can with what we got. At any given point in time, we got very real problems we're dealing with. We're looking for solutions, and we're all just people doing the best we can. And making that discovery has just, that's when I was really able to step into using my gifts and my abilities and get out of my own head. And I remember 2020, I was talking with a friend about a particular individual, and I'm like, hey, I don't know that if I could really help them. They're already really successful in this and that, and yada yada yada. And my friend's like, well, gosh, Kev, sounds like you've already made up his mind for him. And I'm like, okay, you're right. I'll at
Yes.
least talk with him. And so I did. And when I told him what I was up to, he was like, Kev, that sounds amazing. I would love to be a part of that. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, exactly. See, you almost rejected yourself for him and he didn't even want to.
totally. And you know what's crazy is these entrepreneurs or whoever it is that we're looking at that we put on we might tend to put on a pedestal and think that they're all that. All the same stuff applies to them too. All this
Yes.
stuff applies to them as well. We're no different. And so
Yes.
we're just playing at on a different playing field. That's all. That's
Yes.
all. So good stuff. Good stuff. Well, Laura, thank you so much again. I have just thoroughly enjoyed having this conversation, and I am excited to get it out there and share it with other entrepreneurs, founders, and CEOs. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. It's been an amazing conversation. Thank you for the opportunity. And I'm truly honored to be part of this relationship.
Absolutely.